North Carolina is back in Chapel Hill, and they're ready to face those gold miners up there in Charlotte. What's this matchup going to look like? Let's find out. Let's go.
You don't want none!
I'm good, I'll be I'll die, 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 I'll be I'll die.
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? Nathan and Alan here. We are your Heel Brothers, and welcome in to the North Carolina Charlotte preview and prediction podcast. This is a game that we are looking forward to as North Carolina opens up their home season inside of Kenan Stadium against the Charlotte 49ers. Just a team that's just a couple hours away, a team North Carolina is very familiar with some staff and some players on that team, and should be an absolutely fun atmosphere. It's the opening of the season inside a home. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to be there. It's going to be fun. Vlogs are going to be coming, and we're going to be having a good time. Alan, you looking forward to this matchup?
Yeah, a win is a win is a win as long as we win.
That's it. That's what it is. That's it. Win is a win, no matter what. And that's what Carolina's going to be looking for in Kenan Stadium this weekend. So let's hop right into it. North Carolina versus Charlotte kicks off 3:30 p.m. Eastern inside of Kenan Stadium. Supposed to be a very beautiful day from what I hear. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. Carolina opens as a 21-point favorite in this game, a current 91.3% chance of victory per ESPN matchup predictor. Charlotte comes in with second-year head coach Biff Poggi. He is currently 3-10 with the Charlotte 49ers. This is the first season. The first season for the Charlotte 49ers was played back in 2013, where they started off as an FCS independent and quickly moved up to the FBS in 2015, joining Conference USA, and then last year joining the American Athletic Conference in 2023. Fun team that is very new to the football scene, still only 11 years into it, and they have had an interesting time themselves. The 49ers have currently on the coaching staff former defensive back coach Dre Bly of North Carolina, former North Carolina D-line coach Tim Cross, and former North Carolina assistant head coach Tim Brewster. Also on that team as players are former UNC players Justin Olson, Jaquarius Conley, and Dante Balfour. Three guys that spent a fair share of time over here at North Carolina. Dante not as much, and had some fun and interesting and highlight plays here for North Carolina. Charlotte welcomed in redshirt sophomore quarterback out of the University of Florida, Max Brown. He originally committed to Florida to be a quarterback and also play on the baseball team at Florida. And as we know, Florida always fields a pretty solid baseball team over there. Very athletic player. And in his first game with the Charlotte 49ers, he ended the game with 193 yards passing, 48.9% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 2 sacks. In Charlotte's opening game against JMU, they did suffer a loss at home, 30-7, where Charlotte went out without 8 starters in that game. Still unnamed currently that we know of. We are actually filming this right off the tail end of the scouting report, and even the insider didn't even know who was all out because they've kept it so tightly packed in, and that they're not letting anything out that's been tight sealed, and they're not letting any info out over there. So 8 guys not playing for Charlotte, and Charlotte is currently coming in with 44 transfers this past offseason and also 71 brand new players to the program. In their first game, they did rush for 131 yards off of the backs of Taron Killiman and also Hashawn Watson. North Carolina is coming off of a 19-17 win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers up there in Minneapolis this past Thursday, where in the third quarter they did lose quarterback Max Johnson to what we now know as a broken femur. Amari Hampton did run for 130 yards off of 30 carries, and UNC was able to conjure 5 sacks in that game. This will be the first of 3 home games for North Carolina, and also for the next 8 weeks, Carolina isn't going anywhere outside of 8 miles or just a few miles outside of the area of Chapel Hill. It's going to be an interesting time for the Tar Heels. And now we get into this game right here. North Carolina versus Charlotte. Allen, this is a team in Charlotte who we just found out about just a little bit ago. We found out a good bit of information from the Highway 49 podcast. Did a great job. If you haven't watched the scouting report of Charlotte, be sure and go back and check that out. I think Hunter did a great job of explaining this team and what we can expect out of Charlotte this coming Saturday. Alan, what kind of a game do you believe that this is going to be for the Tar Heels?
Well, I mean, you pretty much just laid it out, son. It's Hills by 30, and we can just wrap this thing up. Roast us some marshmallows and tuck up in the bed and go nighty night.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I mean, these games comes down to it. Better athletes should perform better than lesser athletes. Obviously they have some athletes from our team previously. I don't know how they end up there or what led them to there, but I mean, if they were originally good enough to play at the University of North Carolina, you land at a lesser school, I guess maybe your feelings are kind of hurt and you're just looking for a bounce back. But I mean, I guess you could say, and honestly, I don't know a whole lot about them. I'll be, but I'd say you guess you're going to kind of look at it like you said they like to run the ball, so we're going to do what we do best. What North Carolina did best against Minnesota. You're going to stop the run and dare them to beat you over the top. I like our guys on the outside more than I'm going to like their guys on the outside. So, I mean, we'll just keep it pretty cut and dry. North Carolina should win this game by, I don't know how much by because I don't know how many points North Carolina's going to be able to score. Hopefully hopefully they can get that quarterback situation figured out there in Chapel Hill. But, that remains to be seen. But, I'd like to see North Carolina. If North Carolina scores 35 points, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah, North Carolina's coming in with a brand new quarterback in Connor Harrell. Not really brand new, but this is his first time really being named the starter for the rest of a season. He did start the bowl game against West Virginia and was brought in that third quarter against Minnesota to take over for Max Johnson. The question being, will Chip Lindsey get this offense and also his key pieces out there, outside your skill positions and your J.J. Jones, your Nate McCullums, your Kobe Paysours, your tight ends and Bryson Nesbitt, Copenhaver, even Jake Johnson to a lesser degree. Are you going to be able to get them going and get this passing game really flowing here? Charlotte is a team they can post some mixed matches for Carolina, especially with their wide receivers and their tight end. This is a team that is going to be run first, but they have a very athletic quarterback, a guy who can get out, who can scramble, who can run pretty daggum fast. This is a baseball player. He's got to be able to steal those bases, and he's got some speed to him as well. So he's going to be a dual threat quarterback for sure. And for our corners and our backers, they're going to be posed with the test of keeping those, especially the tight ends at bay. The two tight ends I'm looking at right now, Jake Clemens, a 6'6" tight end, and also Colin Weber, 6'4". These are big guys. And then you have your wide receivers out there. The premier wide receiver being Sean Brown. He had 7 catches for 60 yards this past week against JMU. And that was with Max Brown running for his life because the offensive line was, not playing up to par, to say the least, for Charlotte. But he's a 6'4" wide receiver as well. Then you have Isaiah Myers, 6'2", and Omega Blake, which is just that's a flipping awesome name. Gotta love the name Omega Blake. Also 6'2" as well. And then they have a kind of a smaller wide receiver, really quick and fast, and Isaiah, Jarius Max. Or Mac, I'm sorry, is his last name. So they've got some pieces out there on the edge, a quarterback that has proven himself. He played for Florida. Graham got hurt last year, and he played against Florida State and really held his own in that game. So this is a guy that's been able to show against some top-tier talent, because we know how Florida State was playing last year. They're a great team. He's proven in that aspect, and it's going to pose a threat for North Carolina. But North Carolina offensively, I believe that's where your primary questions are going to be, as far as getting Connor familiar, getting him confident. Don't get him hurt. Moving the pocket, I believe, you're going to see a lot of that through Carolina. And they're going to run the ball, of course. In this game, you don't want to see Omarion Hampton having to run, I say, even more than 15 snaps. Honestly, I think after that, you kind of can it with him. Get your backups in there, and get your freshman and Davion Goss in there, and get them going, and try to build that depth in the running back room, because 30 carries for Omarion Hampton, you don't want that to be your day-to-day, and it's not going to be withstandable. I mean, he does a great job of keeping himself in shape and ready to go and absorbing the hits, but he's not going to be able to do that and sustain throughout a course of the season. This is week 2. And you still got a long way to go for the rest of the season. And you got your conference schedule to go as well. So to me, this game is going to be very similar to that of Minnesota. Team's going to run the ball first. They're going to lean on their defense. They've got a couple of stars over there on the defensive line. These are the transfers that came over. A good bit of them are from Power 4 level teams, guys out of Miami and a couple of other places that are coming. One of them being Chance Williams, and also Stone Andy, which is awesome. Just another great name over there in Charlotte. We've been doing pretty good in the name categories over the last few years, but I think Charlotte might have us beat this year with some of their names. But they got some guys out there on the edge that can definitely cause some problems against our very inexperienced. I know they got one good game under the belt, and they played relatively well at Minnesota, but they got some guys over there. But I like Carolina in this game. I think it's going to be a fun game. Quite frankly, the crowd's going to be into it. I'm going to be there. I hope to God it's going to be loud. I would expect it to be, considering it's the home opener, and you need the crowd. I feel confident in Connor Harrell myself personally, because I've saw the kid play. I saw him during spring practice this year, spring game. And, Max is experienced. I get that, but Connor Harrell has a lot of potential. If they can keep him poised, keep the turnovers down at a minimum, get him going, I like Carolina in this game. Alan, what does Carolina need to do defensively in order to secure a win against a team like Charlotte this week?
I mean, they just got to pretty much perform like they did last week. And luckily for, you're saying that, UNCC has big tight ends, athletic wide receivers. Well, luckily for UNC, they go against big athletic tight ends all the time.
Yeah.
So, we got talented, fast wide receivers on the outside that we get to go against in practice. So, I don't think UNC Charlotte's going to throw anything at us that we ain't already seen in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Again, these games are won and lost in the trenches, and I just think our offensive and defensive lines are more talented, are going to be more physical. They're going to be bigger and stronger, and it's no knock to UNC Charlotte. I mean, it's just the differences in the type of schools you are.
Mm.
I'm not going to say anything's possible. I mean, UNC beat Duke in Charlotte. What 2, 3, 4 years ago? 2020.
It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Was it 2020? Was it 2020?
2020 or 2021, one of those 2 years. I can't remember exactly.
So, I mean, it can happen. I mean, You know, you don't expect it to happen. It can happen. Um, but you know, event that's the great. You know, that's the difference between football and basketball. In basketball, just about any team has a puncher's chance, just for the simple fact that a team can get hot and score a bunch of points, and and they just win the game because they score more points than you did. But normally in football, for the most part, the better team, like when there's a talent discrepancy, a talent gap, the better team's going to find a way to is always going to find a way to win. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the more talented team finds a way to win. And I just see this. It's going to be a fun game. First game of the season at home. Hopefully people show up and come ready to party. But yeah, I don't see this being if the defense gives up more than 10 points, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I personally, Charlotte coming into this game was ranked one of the worst teams in the country, and that was on every statistic possible, offense, defense, and also them being out 8 starters so far from what we know. Mac Brown said that they expect to see a couple of those coming back. We will see what happens with that. But, this is a team that's definitely trying to find themselves. I believe in a couple of years, if, Biff continues to be the head coach, he's a crazy dude. I love his energy. I think Biff's a really fun guy. Listening to his interviews right here on our local news station, Channel 3 News that we have here. We get to hear everything that goes on in Charlotte all the time. And seeing his interviews and everything, he's a fun dude. And quite frankly, I think Charlotte is starting to take that App State approach. This is a team that has teams like, Georgia on the schedule, North Carolina, Ohio State in the future. They're not afraid to go up against the big teams and really build that experience. And you never know what this team could definitely turn into. So Charlotte's not a team to be sleeping on for sure. I think Carolina has a big advantage of them, especially for Chip Lindsey. You know what Tim Cross likes to do. He's the defensive line coach. It helps you there. Carolina and Mac Brown have a very, have a good familiarity with Dre Bly and what he likes to run. And it's going to be some similar personnel groupings that we've saw very similarly to last week as well. And not only that, you got an idea of what it looks like over the past 5 years with those guys. So Carolina's got the advantage in my point. I'm going to go in with the score prediction. I think Carolina, you said 35. Quite frankly, I think you're a little low on that number. I got Carolina win this one 45-3.
Wow. We can only muster 17 and look pretty pedestrian doing it. Like a whole 45, huh?
Yeah. I got a whole 45, man.
I'll go 35-7.
35-7. All right. I like it. It's a good prediction. I think Carolina is going to come up there and handle business. I do expect the defense to continue with the standard. That's been a big talking point this week from Mac Brown and the crew, whether it be the players. Today they had interviews, and also the coordinators, they had their interviews. So I could definitely see that being the case. Carolina, in my opinion, is coming out for a big win. Start stacking wins at this point in time. Charlotte this week, NC Central next week. I think I ranked NC Central.
Experience. Experience.
Right. So I got NC Central. I think NC Central's a notch above Charlotte, just considering all the injuries and the newness on this team. NC Central's a team that's went to the Celebration Bowl a couple of times. So I think next week's going to be a little bit tougher of a challenge. But I like Carolina in this one. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. Real looking forward to being back at Chapel Hill. You guys are coming with us. Vlog's gonna be coming up, and it's gonna be a really good time, man. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about.
I can't wait to watch the vlog.
Yeah, there you go. You're gonna be watching the vlog, man. You almost got to come to this one. You almost got to come to this one.
Yeah, I
But that's
don't,
okay.
bro. I don't. It might be. You know, Wake Forest is the only game I get to go to.
Oh man, that's okay though. As long as you're up there and the Hill brothers get to hang out inside of Chapel Hill, it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna be having a great time, man, and cannot wait for this Saturday. 3:30 kick, gonna be fun. Gonna check out Raising Canes and all the lovely shops over there. It's gonna be a good time. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here, and as always, go Heels.
Go Heels.